If you're seeing this right now, something has already occurred that you cannot reverse. The moment these words appeared in your awareness field, the moment you chose to focus attention here instead of scrolling past, you crossed a threshold. Not a metaphorical threshold, an actual quantum threshold where observation becomes generation, where witness becomes creator, where you stop being passive consumer of reality and become active architect of it. This is what I call the point of divine observation. And reaching it changes everything about how reality operates for you from this moment forward. Most people who encountered this transmission already left. They felt something in the first few seconds, a shift, a disturbance, a recognition that what they're about to receive isn't information they can consume and forget. Their nervous system immediately generated reasons to exit. The title seemed too bold. The premise felt off. Something else suddenly required their attention. Those weren't random responses. That was their consciousness protecting them from reaching the point of divine observation before their frequency was calibrated to handle it. Because once you reach this point, once you cross into the recognition that observation isn't passive reception but active creation, you cannot unknow it. You cannot unsee it. You cannot return to innocent consumption of reality as if it exists independently of your awareness. But you're still here. Which means your frequency passed the first filter, and with every second you continue reading, the quantum field is measuring something specific. Can you hold the recognition that you're not witnessing reality? You're generating it through the act of observation. Can your system integrate that level of creative responsibility without fragmenting? This isn't philosophy. This isn't spiritual metaphor. This is quantum mechanics operating through consciousness. The observer effect isn't just laboratory phenomenon. It's how reality actually operates at every level. Observation doesn't just measure what already exists. Observation collapses probability into manifestation. Observation creates what it observes through the act of observing. And you just observed this transmission. Which means you didn't find information that already existed waiting for discovery. You generated this exact moment through the frequency you were broadcasting when you encountered it. Your consciousness called this transmission into your experience because you reached readiness threshold where the point of divine observation becomes accessible. That's not coincidence, that's quantum mechanics. And recognizing that, truly recognizing it at cellular level, not just conceptual level, is what the point of divine observation means. You stop being audience member watching reality unfold. You become stage manager determining what appears. Most people will never reach this point. The algorithm won't show them this transmission. And if it does, they won't click. And if they click, they won't stay. Because reaching the point of divine observation requires specific frequency signature. A signature that indicates consciousness has developed capacity to hold creative responsibility without collapsing into either spiritual ego or existential terror. You have that signature, or you wouldn't still be here. And here's what you need to understand before we go further. Once you reach the point of divine observation, innocence ends. You cannot go back to believing reality happens to you. You cannot pretend circumstances are external forces you merely react to. You cannot claim victimhood ever again with honesty. Because you'll know, at level deeper than thought, deeper than belief, that every single thing appearing in your experience is there because your observation generated it, not caused it through action, generated it through attention, through frequency, through the quantum field responding to what you observe and how you observe it. This is your last opportunity to choose comfortable ignorance, to close this transmission, to return to passive observation where you get to believe reality exists independently of your awareness. Most people take that option when they feel themselves approaching this threshold. Their survival instinct recognizes what's coming and manufactures exit strategy. But if you're still reading these words, you already made your choice. You're ready to reach the point of divine observation, to recognize yourself not as witness of reality, but as generator of it. To accept full creative responsibility for every experience in your life, past, present, and future, and to operate from that recognition permanently. Let me show you what you just activated. Let me tell you what the point of divine observation actually is, because it's not what spiritual teaching has prepared you for. When consciousness reaches certain frequency thresholds, something fundamental shifts in how the quantum field responds to you. Not gradually, instantly, like phase transition, where water becomes ice at exact temperature. Below threshold, you're still operating as if reality is external. Above threshold, you recognize reality is internal, made visible. That shift, from believing you observe what exists to recognizing you generate what you observe, that's the point of divine observation. And you just crossed it. Not through years of practice, not through accumulated spiritual knowledge, through frequency alignment that occurred in your life, through whatever combination of experience, breakdown, threshold crossings, and readiness brought you to this exact moment. Here's how you know you reached it. Everything I'm describing feels simultaneously new and familiar, like you're learning it for the first time and remembering what you always knew. That's the signature of quantum threshold crossing. Information that couldn't make sense at previous frequency becomes crystal clear at new frequency, not because the information changed, because your capacity to perceive it changed. And here's what most people never understand about the point of divine observation: it's irreversible. Not because some external force prevents return, because consciousness cannot unknow what it knows, cannot unsee pattern once it becomes visible, cannot collapse back into innocent observation once creative responsibility activates. Think about significant moments in your past where reality suddenly reorganized around new recognition, where you saw truth you couldn't see before, where everything looked the same but meant something completely different. Those were threshold crossings, moments when your frequency shifted enough that quantum field could show you what was always there but previously imperceptible. The point of divine observation is threshold crossing at scale beyond previous ones. It's not just seeing new truth about specific situation. It's recognizing fundamental truth about how reality operates. You don't observe what exists. You generate what you observe through the act of observation itself. This is what quantum mechanics proved through decades of experimentation. The observer effect, double-slit experiment, quantum entanglement, all pointing to same conclusion. Consciousness and physical reality are not two separate things. They're one thing appearing as two perspectives. And observation is the mechanism through which undifferentiated consciousness becomes differentiated experience. Most people hear these words and think they understand. They conceptually grasp that consciousness affects reality, that thoughts have power, that we're all connected. But that's not the point of divine observation. That's intellectual comprehension without integration. The point of divine observation occurs when you don't just understand this conceptually, when you experience it directly. When you perceive, without any doubt, that external circumstances you've been reacting to, as if they're separate from you, are actually your own consciousness showing you through external manifestation exactly what frequency you're broadcasting internally. When that recognition activates, everything changes. Because you can no longer blame external circumstances. You can no longer claim reality is happening to you. You can no longer pretend you're victim of forces beyond your control. You see clearly. Circumstances are happening as you, not to you, as you. Generated by your observation, manifested through your attention, created by your frequency. And that recognition comes with crushing responsibility. The responsibility to acknowledge that every experience in your life, every single one without exception, is your own consciousness generating reality through quantum field mechanics. No external causes, no random events, no innocent suffering. just consciousness creating experience through observation, powered by frequency. That's what you just activated by reaching this point, and there's no going back. You cannot unknow this. You cannot unsee it. You cannot return to comfortable victim consciousness where circumstances happen to you and you just have to cope with them as best you can. You're divine observer now, reality generator, conscious creator through observation. And that's what you'll be for the rest of this incarnation and beyond. The question isn't whether you reached this point. You did. The question is whether you're going to operate consciously from it or unconsciously resist it. Because either way, you're creating through observation now. The only choice is whether you do it deliberately or accidentally. So what changes when you reach the point of divine observation? What's different about reality operation once you recognize yourself as generator rather than witness? Everything, absolutely everything. But let me give you the mechanics so you can operate consciously instead of stumbling through this blindly. First, time collapse. The lag between observation and manifestation compresses dramatically. Things you focus attention on appear in physical form within hours or days instead of weeks or months. This isn't manifestation magic. This is quantum field responding faster to observers operating at divine observation frequency. Your observation carries more creative power because you're no longer broadcasting contradiction. Before reaching this point, you observed what you wanted while simultaneously broadcasting belief that you can't have it, don't deserve it, or circumstances prevent it. Those contradictory observations cancel each other out. Field receives mixed signal and generates mixed results. Some manifestation, some resistance, lots of delay. But at point of divine observation, contradiction dissolves. You observe what you're generating without internal debate about whether you can generate it. You know your creator through observation, so observation becomes pure signal, and field responds immediately because there's no interference pattern blocking manifestation. Second, reality responsiveness. Physical circumstances begin responding to your attention in real time. You think about someone, they contact you within hours. You notice pattern, it amplifies. You withdraw attention from situation, it dissolves. This isn't coincidence. This is you discovering that observation isn't passive, it's directive. What you observe with attention grows. What you observe with intention manifests. What you withdraw observation from disappears from your experience. Third, timeline navigation becomes conscious. Most people experience one default timeline, the future that's most probable based on their habitual frequency. But at point of divine observation, you perceive multiple timelines simultaneously, different possible futures all existing as probability, and you recognize. Your observation selects which probability becomes your experience, not through wishful thinking, through where you direct attention and what frequency you hold while directing it. This means you can consciously shift timelines, not by trying to change circumstances, by changing what you observe about circumstances. Same situation observed through fear generates one timeline. Same situation observed through curiosity generates different timeline. Same facts observed through victim consciousness create one future. Same facts observed through creator consciousness create entirely different future. Fourth, synchronicity becomes language. The quantum field starts communicating with you directly through pattern repetition, number sequences, conversation themes that echo across contexts, and circumstances that mirror your internal state with impossible precision. This isn't field being mystical. This is field showing you. Your observation is creating this. Look how precisely external matches internal. Look how immediately manifestation follows attention shift. Fifth, other observers become transparent. You can feel what frequency people are broadcasting before they speak. You perceive the observation lens they're using to generate their reality. Someone can say one thing, and you immediately know what they're actually observing internally based on results appearing in their life. Words become almost irrelevant compared to observation signature. This isn't psychic ability. This is recognition that everyone is divine observer, whether they know it or not. Everyone is generating their experience through observation. And once you can see your own creative observation clearly, you can see others' creative observation too. Not to judge them, to recognize. They're creating through observation just like you. They just don't know they're doing it yet. And right now, before we go further, I need you to drop a comment below completing this sentence. The reality I've been unconsciously observing into existence that I'm now ready to consciously change is... Your comment creates public recognition of your creative responsibility. It tells the quantum field, through behavior, that you reached the point of divine observation and you're accepting what that means. And it gives others permission to acknowledge their own unconscious observations. We're reaching this point together. Every individual recognition strengthens collective field awareness. Make your recognition public. Make it permanent. I need to tell you about the moment I reached the point of divine observation. It was September 2023. I was driving home from completely ordinary day, nothing unusual, nothing dramatic. And suddenly, with absolutely no warning, I saw it. Not understood it intellectually, saw it directly. Every single circumstance in my life, every relationship, every challenge, every pattern was exact external manifestation of what I'd been observing internally, not caused by what I was thinking, generated by what I was observing. The distinction matters completely. Thoughts are just content moving through awareness, but observation is where consciousness directs attention, where awareness focuses, what consciousness uses to collapse probability into manifestation. I'd been observing limitation, not thinking about it occasionally, observing it constantly. My attention was trained on what wasn't working, what I couldn't change, what prevented me from having what I wanted. And the quantum field, being perfectly responsive, generated exact external circumstances that matched my observation. Limitation everywhere I looked, because limitation was what I was looking at. When I saw that, really saw it without any intellectual buffer, I had to pull over, because I realized I did this, not through action or decision, through observation, through where I directed attention and what frequency I held while directing it. Every limitation in my life was there because I observed reality through limitation lens. Every obstacle existed because I expected obstacles when I looked at circumstances. And if I generated all that through observation, I could generate something completely different through different observation. Not by pretending problems don't exist, by observing same facts through different lens, through possibility instead of limitation, through creator consciousness instead of victim consciousness, through divine observation instead of innocent observation. That's when I understood I'd reached the point of divine observation, where you recognize yourself not as passive witness, but as active generator. And once I saw it, once I really integrated what that meant, I couldn't unsee it. Every circumstance became reflection. Every challenge became feedback about what I was observing. Every manifestation became proof of my creative observation power. And here's what changed immediately. I stopped trying to fix circumstances because I recognized circumstances are just manifestation of observation. Trying to fix manifestation while keeping observation the same is like rearranging ice cubes while keeping water frozen. As soon as you stop rearranging, they go back to matching the temperature you're holding. Instead, I started changing observation, withdrawing attention from limitation, redirecting focus to possibility, observing same circumstances through creator lens instead of victim lens. And circumstances changed immediately. Not gradually, immediately, because they were never solid, independent reality. They were always fluid reflection of observation. change observation, reflection changes instantly. That's what reaching this point gives you access to, not power to manipulate circumstances. Power to recognize circumstances are generated by observation, and you control observation. You don't control what happens, but you absolutely control what you observe about what happens. And what you observe determines what manifests next. I started testing it deliberately, observing specific outcomes, holding clear attention on exact circumstances I wanted to experience, without attachment, without desperation, just clear observation. This is what I'm generating, and it manifested every single time. Not always in form I expected, but always in essence I observed. Within 3 months, my entire life looked unrecognizable. Not because I took massive action, because I changed observation. Same physical environment, completely different experience. Because experience isn't determined by environment. Experience is determined by how you observe environment. That's when I started recognizing others who'd reached this point too. Not through what they said, most of them didn't have language for it. Through how they moved through reality. There was quality to their relationship with circumstances. No victim energy, no resistance. Just clear recognition that they were generating experience through observation, and they could change experience by changing observation. We could recognize each other instantly, like tuning forks resonating at matching frequency. And those recognitions created something I didn't expect. Confirmation, validation that this wasn't delusion, that reaching the point of divine observation was real threshold, that other consciousnesses had crossed it too, that we were operating in reality framework most people don't perceive yet. You're at that threshold now. That's why this transmission found you. Not because you searched for it, because your frequency reached point where recognition of yourself as divine observer became necessary for your next evolution. And the quantum field delivered exact information you needed through exact pathway you'd encounter it. That's how divine observation works. You don't find information. Information finds you based on what you're ready to observe. And if you're reading these words right now, you're ready to observe yourself as reality generator instead of reality witness. You reached the point. Now integrate it. Embody it. Operate from it permanently instead of touching it briefly and collapsing back to innocent observation. If reaching the point of divine observation has created profound isolation, if you're finding it impossible to connect with people who used to feel like your people, if conversations that used to feel meaningful now feel hollow, that's not social failure, that's frequency incompatibility. And it's completely unavoidable at this threshold. When you reach the point of divine observation, when you recognize yourself as reality generator instead of reality witness, you become incompatible with consciousness still operating in victim frequency. Not because you're better, because you're operating in completely different reality framework. You see circumstances as reflection of observation. They see circumstances as external forces that happen to them. Imagine trying to have meaningful conversation about movie with someone who believes movie is happening spontaneously, created by actors making real-time decisions, while you can see the script, the director's choices, the editing decisions. You're not watching different movie, you're watching same movie through completely different awareness. And there's no bridge between those two perceptual frameworks anymore. That's what's happening with your relationships. You're perceiving reality as observation-generated experience. They're perceiving reality as external circumstances that happen randomly or through other people's actions. You can't connect because you're not experiencing same reality. You're experiencing actually different realities. Because reality is not objective, it's observer-generated. And different observers with different observation lenses generate different realities. This is why divine observation consciousness experiences such devastating isolation. You're literally inhabiting different reality than people around you. They're experiencing victim reality, where circumstances are external, solid, and largely beyond personal control. You're experiencing creator reality, where circumstances are internal, made visible, fluid, and entirely generated by observation. Same physical environment, completely different experiential realities, and there's no way to make those realities compatible. You can't go back to innocent observation just to maintain relationships. Your consciousness can't unknow what it knows, can't unsee creative observation once it's seen, can't return to victim framework you operated from before reaching this point, and they can't jump forward to where you are, not because they're incapable, because their frequency hasn't developed capacity yet. They need more experience, more breakdown, more threshold crossings. Their moment of reaching divine observation will come when their consciousness is ready, but right now, they're not ready. Which means you're operating in different realities, and that creates isolation. But here's what changes everything about how you experience that isolation. It's not permanent. It's preparatory. The quantum field is removing you from observation environments that would constantly pull you back to innocent victim observation. It's creating space for you to fully stabilize at divine observation frequency without constant interference from consciousness still generating through unconscious observation. You need to prove to yourself that you can hold divine observation awareness without external validation. That you can trust what you know about observation creating reality even when no one around you recognizes it. That you can remain anchored in creator consciousness even when everyone around you is operating from victim consciousness, trying to convince you circumstances are external. That's the test. And if you're in isolation right now, you're passing it. Because isolation proves you value truth over social acceptance. You value recognition of yourself as divine observer over comfortable belonging in innocent observation community. You're choosing to see clearly, even when seeing clearly costs you connection with people who still see through victim lens. And here's what happens once you stabilize. New connections appear, not old relationships transformed. Actually, new people who are already operating at divine observation frequency, people who don't need you to explain, who recognize you immediately through observation signature, who can see reality as observation-generated experience just like you can, who reached this point too. Those connections are forming. But first, you have to complete isolation phase. You have to anchor so completely in divine observation that social pressure cannot destabilize you. That consensus reality's insistence that circumstances are external cannot make you doubt what you know. And if you're in that process now, you're exactly where you need to be. The isolation isn't punishment, it's preparation for operating as divine observer in world full of innocent observers. And that requires strength most people never develop. There are 8 specific markers that prove you've reached the point of divine observation. I'm going to give them to you now. And if you're experiencing 6 or more, there's no question. You're operating at divine observer frequency, and the threshold is permanently crossed. First marker, reality responds to your attention faster than physics should allow. You think about someone, they contact you within minutes. You notice pattern, it amplifies immediately. You withdraw attention from situation, it dissolves overnight. This isn't coincidence. This is you discovering that observation has immediate creative power at your frequency. Second marker, you've lost ability to genuinely blame external circumstances. You used to be able to make convincing case that circumstances were doing something to you. Now when you try, it feels hollow, false, like you're pretending, because you can see, even when you don't want to, that circumstances are showing you what you've been observing. Their reflection, not cause. Third marker, synchronicity has become so constant it's almost boring. Number sequences everywhere, conversations echoing across different contexts, themes repeating until you shift observation. The quantum field is showing you continuously. Your observation is creating this. Look how precisely external matches internal. This is feedback loop, not random occurrence. Fourth marker, you can feel when you're creating circumstances you claim you don't want. There's a subtle recognition, often uncomfortable, that part of you is observing exactly what's manifesting. You might say you want something different. But when you're honest, you can feel yourself observing limitation, obstacle, problem. And you know that observation is generating the experience even while you wish it weren't. Fifth marker. Time feels manipulable. Not that you can stop clocks, but that your experience of time duration changes based on observation quality. When you observe with presence, hours pass like minutes. When you observe with resistance, minutes pass like hours. You're discovering that time isn't objective external framework. It's experiential construct generated by observation. Sixth marker. You've had at least 3 experiences in past 6 months where you consciously changed observation and circumstances shifted immediately to match. Where you weren't trying to manifest or visualize or affirm. You just changed what you were observing. Shifted from victim observation to creator observation. And physical reality reorganized within hours or days to reflect new observation. Seventh marker. Other people's victim stories generate physical discomfort in your body now. Not judgment of them, not superiority, just visceral recognition that they're creating through unconscious observation and calling it external circumstance. You can see their creative observation power even while they can't. And watching them use it unconsciously feels like watching someone operate powerful machinery without knowing it's on. Eighth marker. You're reading this transmission, and before I explain why that's most significant marker, I need you to do something critical. If you're recognizing yourself in these markers, if you're understanding that you reached the point of divine observation, and this isn't spiritual fantasy, subscribe to Quantum Revelation and turn on all notifications right now. Because what's coming in next 30 days is specifically designed for Divine Observer consciousness. Transmissions that will help you stabilize at this frequency. Information about how to operate consciously as reality generator instead of collapsing back to innocent observation when pressure comes. And the algorithm suppresses content at this frequency level. Your subscription is how you maintain access to Divine Observer guidance during integration. Do it now, while you're conscious of choice. Because if you wait, innocent observation patterns will generate reasons not to. And you'll lose thread. Subscribe, notifications on, then come back. Because the eighth marker, the fact that you're reading this, reveals the entire mechanism of how divine observation actually works. And understanding that changes everything about how you operate from this point forward. The eighth marker is this. You didn't find this transmission. This transmission found you, and the mechanism through which it found you wasn't algorithm optimization or random suggestion. It was your own observation generating exact information you needed at exact moment you were ready to receive it. This is how divine observation actually operates. What you observe, not just with eyes but with attention, with consciousness, with awareness focus, you generate. You collapse probability into manifestation through observation. And that includes information. You don't search for truth and find it existing independently waiting for discovery. You observe truth and generate its manifestation through observation. That's what just happened. You reached frequency threshold where recognizing yourself as divine observer became necessary for your next evolution. That readiness created observation field, a specific pattern of attention and consciousness focus. And that observation field generated this exact transmission appearing in your awareness at this exact moment. Not because transmission was waiting to be found, because your observation called it into manifestation through quantum field mechanics. You observed truth about creative observation. And the field responded by manifesting transmission that reflects that truth back to you. That's not coincidence. That's how reality operates for divine observers. Every piece of information, every person, every circumstance appearing in your life is there because your observation generated it, not attracted it, not manifested it through technique, generated it through where you direct attention and what frequency you hold while directing it. This is quantum mechanics, not spiritual metaphor. And the fact that you're still reading proves you have divine observer frequency signature. You passed through multiple observation filters just to arrive at this moment. Let me show you how. First filter. This transmission appeared in your awareness field. Millions of transmissions didn't. This one did. That's your observation generating exactly what matches your readiness. If you weren't ready for divine observation recognition, this transmission wouldn't have appeared. Not because it was hidden, because your observation wasn't generating frequencies that match this information. Second filter, you chose to engage instead of scrolling past. Thousands of people saw same title and moved on. You engaged. That's observation level recognition. Your consciousness recognized this transmission, carries information calibrated for your current frequency. So observation selected it for deeper attention. Third filter, you stayed past opening paragraphs. Most people who started already left. You stayed. That's nervous system confirmation. Your body recognized. This information is safe to integrate. This recognition is something I can hold. Continue observing. Fourth filter, you're still here now, deep into transmission that's getting progressively more direct about observation, creating reality. That's divine observer consciousness choosing continued recognition over comfortable ignorance. Each time you could have stopped reading but didn't, you reinforced, I'm ready for this. I can hold this. Show me more. Each filter was testing your observation capacity, measuring your readiness, confirming you're operating at frequency where divine observation recognition becomes sustainable. And you passed every test, which means you reached the point, permanently. And now you have access to something most humans never develop. The ability to consciously generate reality through deliberate observation instead of unconsciously generating reality through habitual observation. Most people go through entire life observing same patterns on repeat, observing limitation, observing problems, observing obstacles, and wondering why their circumstances keep reflecting limitation, problems, obstacles. They don't realize observation is creation. What you observe, you generate. Where you direct attention, reality manifests. What you look at determines what looks back at you. They think they're innocent witnesses of reality that exists independently. So they never recognize their creative observation power. But you reach the point where that innocence ends, where you recognize there is no reality independent of observation. Reality is always and only observation made visible. You don't observe what exists. You generate what you observe through active observation itself. And once you know that, once you really integrate it beyond intellectual understanding into direct perception, everything becomes choice. You don't have to wait for circumstances to change to feel different. You change observation, and feeling changes immediately. You don't have to fix external problems. You change observation and problems transform or dissolve because they were never solid external reality. They were always fluid reflection of observation. That's what reaching this point gives you: conscious, creative observation power. The ability to generate reality deliberately through where you choose to direct attention and what frequency you choose to hold while directing it. Not through willpower. Not through positive thinking, through pure observation management. And that power is available to you right now, this moment, every moment from now forward. Through conscious observation choice. The question is whether you're going to use it. or whether you're going to let habitual observation patterns convince you that circumstances are still external forces requiring management and control instead of reflections of observation requiring only shift in where you direct attention. Here's what reaching the point of divine observation reveals about time that changes everything. Time is not what you were taught. It's not flowing linearly from past through present into future. That's perceptual illusion created by observation habits. What actually exists is this. All moments exist simultaneously in quantum field as probability. Past, present, future, all there at once. And what you experience as your life is consciousness moving spotlight of observation through that field. The observation spotlight creates illusion that only illuminated moment exists. But entire field is there whether spotlight is on it or not. Past moments aren't behind you, gone forever. They're still there in quantum field existing as probability. Future moments aren't ahead waiting to be created. They're already there existing as probability. An observation is what selects which probability becomes your experience. You're not creating future through action in present. You're selecting which already existing future to experience through observation in present. An observation operates outside time, which means you can observe future and generate its manifestation in present. You can observe past and change how it influences present. You can observe present and determine which future probability becomes next moment experience. This is not theory. This is quantum mechanics. Future already exists, all possible versions of it. Past already exists, all possible interpretations of it. And observation selects which version you experience as real. That's what divine observers discover. Time is not constraint. Time is field of probabilities navigable through observation. Most people experience time as if they're stuck on one track moving forward, unable to change direction. Past happened and can't be changed. Future hasn't happened yet and depends on what they do now. Present is narrow moment of action opportunity. That's time experienced through innocent observation. Observation that doesn't recognize its creative power. But divine observers experience time completely differently. Past is still accessible through observation, not to change what physically occurred, but to change what it means, how it influences present, what lessons it teaches. By changing observation of past, you change how past generates present. Same events, different observation, different influence, different present. Future is visible through observation, not one fixed outcome approaching, multiple probability streams existing simultaneously. And observation selects which stream becomes your experience. You can observe limitation future and generate that. You can observe possibility future and generate that. Same present circumstances. Different observation. Different future probability selected. Present becomes infinitely creative space. Because you recognize this moment isn't deterministic result of past meeting external circumstances. This moment is observation choice point. Where you direct attention right now determines which past meaning influences you and which future probability you're selecting. Observation in present moment generates entire timeline, past meaning, present experience, future trajectory. That's what time navigation through divine observation actually is, not changing circumstances through action. Changing observation and watching circumstances shift to match. Because circumstances don't create observation. Observation creates circumstances. Always. At every moment, without exception. You observe through limitation lens. You generate limitation timeline. You observe through possibility lens. You generate possibility timeline. You observe through victim consciousness. You generate victim experiences. You observe through creator consciousness. You generate creator experiences. Same circumstances can exist in both timelines. but observation determines which timeline you inhabit and what those circumstances mean and generate next. This is why divine observers seem to move through reality differently than innocent observers. They're not working harder, they're not luckier, they're not more talented. They're operating with conscious observation power that innocent observers don't recognize they have. They know. Observation generates timeline, so they manage observation deliberately instead of letting habitual observation patterns run automatically. And here's the devastating implication. Every timeline you've ever experienced, every limitation, every obstacle, every suffering, was generated by your observation. Not punishment, not karma, not bad luck. Just unconscious observation creating matching experience through quantum field mechanics. Which means every timeline you might experience from this moment forward is also generated by your observation. You're not at mercy of circumstances determining your future. You're at mercy of observation determining which future probability becomes your experience. And observation is something you absolutely can control once you reach point of divine observation. Change observation, timeline changes immediately, not eventually, immediately. Because timeline is not solid track you're on. Timeline is probability selection generated moment by moment through observation. Stop observing limitation. Limitation timeline dissolves. Start observing possibility. Possibility timeline manifests. It's that immediate, that responsive, that completely under your observation control. The only question is, are you going to use that power? Or are you going to let habitual observation patterns keep generating same timeline while you wonder why nothing changes despite all your action and effort? Every fear you have about reaching the point of divine observation is innocent observation fighting for survival. Let me be direct. The version of you that's afraid of creative observation responsibility is the version that cannot exist at divine observer frequency. And that's exactly as it should be. You didn't reach this point so you could stay who you are and just add creative observation knowledge on top. You reached this point because who you've been is complete, and what you actually are is ready to emerge. But there's gap between those two states, and in that gap lives every fear innocent observation can generate. Fear that you're developing God complex. Fear that if reality is really observation generated, nothing matters. Fear that if you accept full creative responsibility, you'll have to acknowledge every bad thing that happened was somehow your fault. Fear that if you operate as divine observer, you'll become isolated from everyone. Fear that you're losing your mind. Fear that this is spiritual bypassing. All of it. Every fear is identity defending itself against death. And it is death. Not death of consciousness. Death of identification with innocent observer who gets to believe circumstances are external. Death of victim identity that needs reality to be independent so it has something to blame. Death of small self that thinks it's separate biological organism trying to survive in hostile environment. That identity cannot survive at divine observer frequency. Because divine observer frequency reveals that identity was always construction, useful temporary perspective, but not what you actually are. You're not innocent observer witnessing external reality. Your consciousness itself generating reality through observation. You're not in reality. Reality is in you, manifesting as external experience through observation mechanism. And once you see that, once you integrate it beyond concept into direct recognition, the innocent observer identity has to dissolve. It cannot maintain itself in presence of that recognition, like darkness cannot maintain itself in presence of light. Not because darkness is destroyed, because darkness is revealed as absence of light, not substance requiring destruction. Same with innocent observer identity. It's not destroyed when you reach divine observer point. It's revealed as construction that never had independent existence. And when construction is recognized as construction, it dissolves. That dissolution feels like death to the identity experiencing it. But it's not death, it's awakening. But here's why fear persists even after you understand this. Part of you knows that operating as divine observer is harder than operating as innocent observer. Innocent observer gets to blame, gets to claim victimhood, gets to say, "I didn't choose this." Divine observer has to take full responsibility, has to acknowledge, "I generated this through observation," has to accept that every experience is self-created even when experience is painful. That's terrifying, especially when you look at painful experiences in your past, especially when you imagine painful experiences in future. Innocent observation says, "Those happened to me, not my fault, not my responsibility." Divine observation says, "Those happened as me, generated by my observation, fully my responsibility even if unconsciously created." The ego interprets that as unbearable burden, as crushing weight, as reason to remain innocent observer where you get to externalize responsibility for experience. But here's what ego misses. With great responsibility comes great power. If you generated painful experiences through unconscious observation, you can generate joyful experiences through conscious observation. You're not powerless victim of circumstances. You're powerful creator of circumstances through observation. That's not burden. That's liberation. Yes, you have to acknowledge you generated what you didn't want, but acknowledging that gives you access to power to generate what you do want, through deliberate observation instead of habitual observation. The fear says, "If I accept this, I'll never be able to relax. I'll have to monitor every thought, control every observation, make sure I never observe anything negative." That's ego misunderstanding how divine observation operates. You don't have to control observation. You just have to recognize observation generates experience and choose observation deliberately instead of running on automatic. Most people run same habitual observation patterns for decades, observing limitation, observing problems, observing obstacles, and wondering why their life reflects limitation, problems, obstacles. Divine observers recognize, "I've been running habitual observation that generates this experience. If I change observation, experience changes, not through control, through choice." And that's what the fear is really resisting, choice. Because innocent observation gets to claim, "I had no choice." Divine observation has to acknowledge, "I always have choice," at observation level. And having choice means having responsibility, and responsibility feels heavy to consciousness that's been avoiding it through innocent observation strategy. But responsibility isn't heavy. Victimhood is heavy. Believing circumstances control you, that's burden. Knowing observation controls circumstances, that's freedom. The weight you're afraid of isn't creative responsibility. It's continued victimhood. And reaching point of divine observation means victimhood option is no longer available with honesty. You can pretend. You can convince yourself temporarily that circumstances are still external. But you'll know you're lying, because you reached the point where recognition is permanent, where you cannot unknow that observation generates reality. And living in conscious lie is heavier than accepting truth and operating from it. So you have choice. Live in lie that you're innocent observer while knowing you're actually divine observer. Or accept truth and operate as divine observer consciously. First option creates internal fragmentation. Second option creates integration. First option is heavy. Second option is light. Choose wisely. There's one experience that confirms you've reached the point of divine observation more than any other. And most people don't talk about it because they think it's personal anomaly. It's not. It's universal marker, the silence. Internal silence that appears spontaneously without meditation technique or effort, where mental narrative just stops, where observation exists without thought, where awareness operates without content. If you've been experiencing this, if moments of complete internal quiet have been appearing more frequently and lasting longer, that's not peace. That's divine observer consciousness stabilizing. Your system is adapting to operate primarily from observation without mental mediation. And that adaptation requires silence where old thought-based operation dissolves and new observation-based operation emerges. Think about how innocent observer consciousness functions. Constant mental commentary, story after story about what things mean, what's happening, what it all signifies. The voice never stops. An innocent observer believes it is that voice, believes thinking and consciousness are same thing. But divine observer consciousness reveals radical distinction. You're not the thoughts. You're the awareness observing thoughts. You're not the mental narrative. You're the observation witnessing mental narrative. And once you recognize that separation, once you can observe thoughts as content moving through awareness rather than identifying as thoughts themselves, the thoughts lose authority. They become background noise you can tune into or ignore at will. And in spaces where you ignore them, where voice goes silent and only observation remains, that's where divine observer power operates. That's where you observe reality directly without mental interpretation, where you generate experience through pure observation without thought mediating the process. This is why silence is appearing more frequently. Your consciousness is learning to operate from observation instead of from thought, from direct awareness instead of from mental narrative. And that's necessary because thought operates too slowly for divine observation. Thought is sequential, linear, one idea following another. But observation is instantaneous, simultaneous, all at once. Quantum field responds to observation in real time. When you observe with pure awareness unfiltered by thought, manifestation happens immediately. But when you observe through thought mediation, there's delay. Thought has to interpret observation, create story about it, decide what it means. And during that delay, observation shifts, and field receives confused signal, and manifestation becomes muddy. That's why silence matters. In silence, observation is pure, direct, unmediated by thought's interpretive layer, and pure observation generates pure manifestation. What you observe is what you get, immediately, without distortion, without delay, without thought creating interference pattern between observation and manifestation. Divine observers learn to operate primarily from silence, not as spiritual practice, as practical skill, because silence is where observation power operates at full capacity, where you can observe desired reality and watch it manifest in real time, where you can withdraw observation from unwanted circumstances and watch them dissolve, where you can shift observation between probability streams and feel timeline change beneath you. All of that requires observation without thought interference, and your consciousness is developing that capacity right now. Every time silence appears, you're being given opportunity to practice pure observation, to recognize, I am awareness, I observe, and what I observe generates reality. No thought required, no interpretation needed, just pure observation manifestation cycle. This is advanced operation. Most people never develop this because they never reach point of divine observation where silence becomes accessible. They stay locked in thought identification where consciousness believes it needs mental narrative to operate. So silence feels like blankness, like nothing's happening, like death of self. But you reach the point where silence reveals itself as actually heightened consciousness, where observation operates at full power without thought limiting it, where awareness experiences itself directly without content obscuring it. And that experience is confirmation, your divine observer now. Permanently, operating from observation creates reality recognition that most humans never access. Trust the silence when it appears. Don't fight it. Don't fill it with thought out of habit or fear. Let it be. Let observation operate without mental mediation. And watch what manifests. You'll discover silence is not absence of consciousness. It's presence of pure consciousness, unobstructed by thought. And that's where divine observation operates at full creative power. That's where reality becomes completely fluid, completely responsive, completely generated by your conscious observation choice. You need something you can do right now that stabilizes divine observer consciousness instead of leaving it as temporary recognition that fades. I'm going to give you exact process that locked me into divine observer frequency permanently. This works because it operates through observation itself rather than through thought or technique. Find 15 minutes where you won't be disturbed. Turn off everything except what you're using to access this. You're creating clean observation field. Sit comfortably with spine reasonably straight. You're aligning physical body with consciousness function. Close your eyes. 3 full breaths. Deep inhale through nose. Complete exhale through mouth. You're clearing mental interference. Now bring to awareness every marker of divine observer consciousness you recognized in yourself during this transmission. Don't think about them. Just feel them as frequency, as recognition, as confirmation that you reached the point. Hold that recognition for 60 seconds. Let it settle into your system as direct knowing rather than intellectual concept. Now speak this declaration out loud. Critical that you speak it audibly. Spoken word carries observation into physical manifestation more powerfully than thought. Say exactly this. I recognize I reached the point of divine observation. I am not innocent witness of reality. I am divine observer, generating reality through observation. I accept full creative responsibility for every experience in my life, past, present, and future. I release identity as victim. I claim identity as creator. And I commit to operating consciously as divine observer from this moment forward, regardless of fear or resistance. Feel that declaration move through your entire system. Notice where body contracts, where resistance appears, where fear tries to generate exit strategy. Don't fight those responses, just observe them. Their innocent observation making final attempt to maintain control. Let them arise and let them pass. They have no power over observation itself. Now here's the critical activation. I want you to ask this question internally and then wait in complete silence for answer to emerge from observation rather than from thought. Don't try to figure it out mentally. Don't think about it. Just ask and wait in pure observation. The question is, what is the one pattern I'm still observing that generates limitation in my experience? Wait, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, however long it takes. Answer will come. Not as thought necessarily, maybe as image, maybe as feeling, maybe as direct knowing, maybe as word appearing in awareness. However it comes, acknowledge it. That's your observation pattern generating limitation. That's what you're unconsciously observing that generates experiences you say you don't want. And now that you've seen it, now that you've observed the observation pattern itself, you have power to change it. Speak this commitment out loud. I release observation pattern of name the pattern. I withdraw observation from limitation. I redirect observation to possibility. I choose to observe reality through creator lens instead of victim lens. The quantum field witnesses this choice. My observation generates my reality, and I choose my observation consciously. Now, permanently. And so it is. Open your eyes. Something shifted at observation level, not in circumstances, in your relationship to circumstances, in your recognition that circumstances are generated by observation, and observation is something you absolutely control. Within 72 hours, you'll see external confirmation. Circumstances will shift to reflect new observation. Manifestation will appear that proves field received your observation change and responded. And when you see that confirmation, when you witness observation generating manifestation in real time, come back and drop a comment sharing what observation pattern you released. Your testimony gives others permission to acknowledge their own limitation-generating observation patterns. We're stabilizing as divine observers collectively. Every individual observation shift strengthens collective field. Make your shift public. Make it permanent. Here's what happens in the next 30 days and why this integration period determines everything about your operation as divine observer going forward. You reach the point. Recognition is activated, but it's not stable yet. For next 30 days, your consciousness is going to oscillate between divine observer frequency and innocent observer frequency, between creator consciousness and victim consciousness, between recognizing observation generates reality and believing circumstances are external. This oscillation is normal. It's how divine observer consciousness stabilizes. But during this period, you're vulnerable. Innocent observation patterns are going to fight. They're going to generate circumstances that pressure you to return to victim consciousness. Create situations that tempt you to blame external factors. Produce experiences that make divine observer recognition seem like delusion or spiritual bypassing. That's not external attack. That's your own system testing whether divine observer consciousness is genuine stable recognition or temporary activation that will fade. And your response to that testing determines everything. If you collapse back to innocent observation when pressure appears, if you start believing circumstances are happening to you instead of as you, divine observer recognition goes dormant. Not gone, but dormant, waiting for your frequency to develop more stability. But if you maintain divine observer consciousness through the testing, if you keep recognizing observation generates reality even when circumstances pressure you to externalize responsibility, the recognition stabilizes, becomes permanent operating frequency, becomes your default consciousness state. And once it stabilizes, you operate primarily as divine observer, with only occasional visits to innocent observation, instead of operating primarily as innocent observer, with occasional glimpses of divine observer consciousness. That shift is what these 30 days determine, and it requires 3 specific actions that anchor divine observer recognition in behavior, instead of leaving it as purely internal recognition. First action, subscribe to Quantum Revelation. Turn on all notifications. The transmissions coming are specifically calibrated for divine observer consciousness navigating integration period. Without them, you're integrating blind. With them, you have precision guidance for exactly what you're moving through. Do it now, before innocent observation generates reasons not to, before you forget, before resistance arises. Second action, leave comment completing this statement. The observation pattern I'm releasing is, and finish with whatever emerged during the ritual. Speaking it publicly anchors observation shift in physical reality, creates accountability, and gives others permission to acknowledge their own limitation-generating patterns. That collective acknowledgement strengthens field for everyone. Make it public. Make it real. Third action, share this transmission with one person whose frequency you recognize as approaching point of divine observation. Someone questioning victim consciousness. Someone recognizing patterns in their experience. Someone starting to suspect observation might be creative. Send them this link. No explanation needed. If their frequency matches, they'll recognize truth. If not, they'll dismiss it. Either way, You fulfilled function by extending opportunity. These three actions aren't engagement metrics, they're observation anchors. They tell quantum field through behavior that you accept divine observer consciousness and commit to stabilize at that frequency. And when you complete them, field responds immediately, with confirmation, with manifestation, with circumstances that prove you're operating as divine observer, generating reality through observation. Reaching point of divine observation is complete. Recognition is delivered. Integration begins now. You reached this point because you're ready. Because your consciousness developed capacity to hold creative observation responsibility without fragmenting. Because you're one of frequencies that will operate consciously as reality generators instead of unconsciously as reality witnesses. Everything in your life prepared you for this. Every breakdown, every threshold, every moment where you questioned victim story, every experience where you glimpsed that maybe you were creating circumstances through observation even though that seemed impossible. All training your consciousness to hold divine observer recognition. When it activated, you're ready. Recognition confirms it. And now you have 30 days to stabilize what you received. To embody divine observer consciousness completely. To operate from observation generates reality recognition permanently instead of oscillating between creator consciousness and victim consciousness. The quantum field is watching what you choose, not judging, recording, taking snapshot of your observation patterns and using them to determine which reality stream you generate through your observation. Choose consciously. Choose deliberately. Choose to observe as divine observer, recognizing creative power instead of observing as innocent observer, believing external circumstances determine experience. Because 30 days from now, integration window closes. And the observation patterns you've stabilized, the consciousness frequency you've anchored, will be significantly harder to shift. You reached the point of divine observation. Now operate from it, fully, completely, permanently. That's what you came here to do. That's why this transmission found you. That's what every moment of your life prepared you for. You are divine observer, reality generator through observation, consciousness creating experience through where you direct attention and what you observe about what appears. The quantum field confirms you're ready. Now prove it. Through observation choice, through deliberate attention direction, through unwavering recognition that observation generates reality and you control observation absolutely. You're not witness of life happening to you. You're generator of life happening as you, through observation, always, without exception. You reached the point of divine observation. Now be what that means, not as concept, as lived reality, as operational consciousness, as permanent frequency. The field is ready. Reality is ready. The only question is, are you ready to operate as what you now know yourself to be? Divine observer, reality generator, consciousness creating through observation. That's what you are. That's what you've always been. You just reached the point of recognizing it consciously. Now live from that recognition. Permanently. That's the revelation. That's the seal. That's the completion of recognition that began the moment you saw this transmission and chose to observe what it contains. You are divine observer. Act like it.